This is Animal Health Insider, where we bring you the real news, real insight, real voices from inside the industry.
Hi, and welcome to a special edition of Animal Health Insider. I'm Julie Lawless, and I'm joined by my insiders,
Beatrice Vos.
And Joe Harvey.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Very
We have a
well.
special, good. Well, we have a special edition because, Beatrice, we just returned from the NAVC's VMX in Orlando. That is an insane show, the biggest veterinary show in the US. This year, there were more than 30,000 people at that show. It was like their biggest show ever. It just keeps growing. And we definitely have closed out a fascinating year for animal health in 2025. And then we kicked off 26, I think, in a pretty fast and furious fashion. So there's a lot in motion. And Joe, I think we want to talk about all three of these things today, let's start with 25,
Yeah.
because you do a great job every year of this comprehensive year in review at S&P on, what are the biggest stories shaping animal health. So Beatrice and I would love to know from you, what do you see kind of on 2025 as a whole?
Okay.
What were those defining stories?
Yeah, I'll let you know, and let's see if our thoughts match up. But it's sometimes really hard to gauge how an industry is doing overall, and actually, animal health can be difficult sometimes. And I suppose the general theme in recent years is 21, 22 was made a bit confusing by COVID and the real surge in revenues we saw on the companion animal side, and then 23 and 24 were relatively weaker years after we came out of the tailwinds from COVID. So when has there been a normal year in animal health recently? There's been macroeconomic headwinds, etc. So maybe 2025 was a quite steady year. Who knows what next year will bring, and it'll make 2025 look weak or it'll make it look amazing. But all in all, a lot of animal health companies, the top animal health companies, are going to do better in terms of sales growth in 2025 than they did in 2024, which is a good sign because the big companies make up so much of the industry. They kind of drag it along with them. And I think a lot of the top 10 will have a better year this year than they did the previous year. And a lot of that is from organic growth, which is good news. Lots of interesting new products coming on the market from Elanco in the pet area, from Elanco and Merck, which has really increased competition with some products Zoetis already has on the market, monoclonal antibodies, for example. So I think that increased competition can only be a good thing for the industry as a whole. The increased competition, but at the same time, that's a focus on organic growth. And there was a kind of lack of major acquisitions by the top animal health product manufacturers last year. They've been focusing on their pipelines or bringing products to market. But I think it was at JP Morgan recently, Elanco kind of hinted they might be now looking at smaller acquisitions again. So they're coming through a cycle of really interesting products coming to market and still coming to market. And lots of these trends come in cycles. So once they get through all of those potential new blockbusters coming to market, they're going to hopefully go out there and look for the next blockbusters and do that through acquisitions. In terms of startups, it was it's hard, isn't it? It's a relatively good year for startups in terms of the amount of deals happening for early stage funding, seed funding, Series A. We tracked more deals than ever in 2025, but a lot of them were small deals. A lot of them were seed fundings or Series A or pre-seed fundings.
Yeah.
So there are a lot more animal health companies or animal health startups out there. So therefore there are more deals, but the check size seems smaller, which is
That's a little shocking. That shocks because as I look back on 25, I thought, oh, nothing was real. I mean, there were certainly, we look at Biomed at, 18 or 19, and, we've got Gallant and Loyal's raising lots of money, but I didn't realize that the number was so high of deals that you tracked.
Yeah, I think it got better and better as the year wore on. I mean, if you look at any industry from January the 1st to December the 31st, it isn't entirely representative of what's going on. Whereas actually on a smaller scale, the latter half of the year, even Q3 and Q4, things were improving then. And I think there was a lot of startup funding deals in the food animal space. So I expect that to continue. I haven't actually seen that really in the first part of January, but I think January is always very slow with deals, and I think it's always Q2 starts warming up, Q3, Q4 more powerful. So hopefully it's even better year this year, and there are more Series B, Series C size things, and as we've seen, IPOs with startups as well.
Beatrice, anything on that you think around the M&A, particularly that you saw coming out of 25?
Yeah, before I get to M&A, I think so. Generally, I think in every year there's the old, the new, and the surprising, and we had that last year as well. And I think the old is the demand for companion animal innovation in parasiticides, dermatology, pain, osteoarthritis. I think among the winners last year were still the companies that bring innovation to market in those areas. The new, I agree with you, Joe. I think deal activity has picked up towards the end of the year. I had a look at the deals that were public and that happened, and I think it's 80%, maybe even more than 80% of the deals last year happened in the second half of the year, and increasingly so. I hope that's a bit of a precursor for this year.
And do you think, Beatrice, that could also, I think, not think about, but we saw great geopolitical uncertainty around the world. 2024 was the year of elections. There were more elections that had ever been recorded previously. Then you've got change in administration. Our good friend Lori Hinkey over at Merck talks about this quite a bit, that, that maybe had some effect on, plans, capital allotment, capital deployment.
I mean, I think geopolitical disruptions generally have an impact on investor behavior, right? Be it elections, be it multiple wars around the world, be it regime change, be it unpredictable politics, that all causes investors to be cautious. I mean, I think we really felt that surely in the first half of last year, but I think it's a little bit becoming the new normal, and investors, funds, they can't hold back investment forever. So I have a bit the impression that they now go back to investing and buying and doing deals nevertheless, right? Because it might not be changing dramatically anytime soon. And so I feel a bit like, I have the impression, right, that deal activity is picking up again, and we really see that. Another area that falls into the new, from my perspective, is data and AI. Of course, it has been around for years, right?
Yeah.
But I really think 2025, also for me personally, with the use of ChatGPT and AI, right, in your personal life, in your professional life, a game changer, really a game changer. And data-driven go-to-market strategies, data-driven growth strategies. I think that's the second category of companies that won last year, who embraced those opportunities. And then a bit the surprising, maybe not that surprising, but we had certain regulatory changes last year, and that's maybe more in Europe than in the US, but the whole antimicrobial resistance topic is back on the table. We got a huge EU animal welfare package last year, which impacts various aspects of the industry. The UK government has 2 days before Christmas announced that they're going to follow suit. and are going to do something similarly. So I think there are a lot of challenges, but also really opportunities to shape the industry in the course of this year.
So let's switch to 2026, because I think you kind of are pointing out there's this sort of almost ramping up into 2026. As you guys look ahead, are there 2 or 3 kind of themes that you see emerging for 2026 that people should be paying attention to right now? And maybe Joe, we'll start with you.
Well, I think you're right. Things do feel like they're ramping up. I'm not quite sure what they're ramping up to, but interesting hearing Beatrice there, and I kind of thinking about animal health and how maybe 10 years ago it was too small of an industry or not as public an industry, so it could navigate sort of geopolitical problems because a lot of companies weren't listed entities, or there weren't many startups. Investors didn't have to bother thinking about investing into their portfolio companies. Completely different scene now. And I think animal health proved again last year that it could navigate macroeconomic impacts and show it could have some deals on the table and money coming in. And maybe not a prediction, but I hope we're going to see bigger deals in this year, over the course of this year. And what is that? I'm not predicting some mega mergers between companies. I don't think any of them are on the table. But some of the medium-sized companies in Europe, maybe Virbac, Vetiquinol, Siva, maybe Depcro will go back in for some deals. That could be interesting. I'd love it if there was a mega merger, something completely changing the industry, like Chewy acquiring an animal pharmaceutical manufacturer, or some really big merger on the food animal side that brought together genetics and vaccines and diagnostics. I don't see that at the moment, but maybe across 2026 we'll see a build up of
maybe some momentum.
Towards that in 2027. But I think a lot come down to what the Q4 results will look like in February and March and April. But I think they're going to be fairly strong.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I'll throw into your deals bucket. We've seen the first IPO since Elanco, since Beatrice and I went through Elanco in 2018. So Axton filed their S1 back in October, and now we have OS Animal Health that's followed suit. That's a change. 2018 was a long time ago. Like, this is and maybe it feeds into, Joe and Beatrice, what you've said about funding. I mean, this is a way, certainly a way to get funding, but it's also, I think, a statement for 2026.
Yeah, I think, there were years where pre-revenue startups could IPO, and they got a lot of money. And those years had been over for many, many years.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're coming back, but OS Therapies, as far as I know, is it's canine, I think also feline oncology. So it's osteosarcoma therapies. I think it's immunology that they're doing research with. But to my knowledge, they're far from generating revenue. So interesting, right? That there's an IPO again involving a pre-revenue company. Of course, Axton is a different case, but
that's right.
Yeah, definitely very, very interesting to see. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see how Elanco's new products perform. Hopefully we'll find out how they perform, and that the start of the new intensity and competition between the top players in the pet health sector. That's the launch. A lot of the launches happened last year. Let's see the results of those this year. More products coming to the market for cats specifically. I think that's an interesting trend that we've been seeing recently, and there's a lot of unmet needs there. But what I and it's maybe not just for 2026, but I want to see something in the livestock area, something big, a sign that something has come to the market related to sustainability or a new vaccine in the last few years, something that's really, really helping sales grow. What's the future? One of the top players going to make a big acquisition in the livestock area, and I'm not just talking Fibro buying a division of Zoetis or Merck buying a division of Elanco. I mean buying something technology or a medium-sized vaccine player. Really put the money behind food animal and not just picking up the assets, the pipeline assets and companion animal. I don't know if that will happen this year. I'd like it to. I think that there's an interesting story to be told there, because a lot of what we hear when you hear the executives speaking at JP Morgan, it's a lot about the growth in pet. And we know the livestock area is growing at a slower rate, but what's going to ignite that next cycle?
I think sustainability is right there. And I mean, we don't have that many products on the market. I mean, we have Bovar, Experior, both are Elanco, Bovar in Europe is DSM. Bovar is coming under attack, right? I mean, I'm sure you've seen that there might be pathologies that are related to Bovar. Also, the efficiency of methane reduction could maybe be better. I mean, and there are a lot of startups in that in that space.
There really are.
So I think that's a really interesting space to watch, like any kind of greenhouse gas emission reduction products that come to market. But apart from that, looking at the startup ecosystem, I see a lot in adjacent areas that are not key pharmaceuticals, but food or medicated feed also for companion animals, care products, toys, devices, insurances, diagnostics,
different modalities of providing medicine. All of it.
Over the trade floor in Orlando, so a lot of startups in those areas. I think that's that looks very interesting, and I think there's more to come.
And maybe one more. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say something completely different, but looking forward to 2026. In the last few years, we've seen quite a few leadership changes at companies. So Dechra, Norbrook, Chanel, last year Virbac, and this year IDEX and Fibro will get new CEOs. So that's all of those that I've mentioned been across the space of 2.5 years. But when there's new leadership, that hopefully there'll be some change and some new strategies, acquisitions, deals there. So those companies, those 5 or so companies that I've mentioned, could there be deals on the horizon there? In Fibro and IDEX, their leadership changes, I don't think they haven't happened yet, but will happen this year. So they could be further down the line. But certainly be interesting to see if Dechra has more deals, Virbac, and some of those other medium-sized players as well.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Virbac, so Paul Martingale, very nice person. 5 months after him joining the company, he closed one of the larger deals in the industry last year, right? So Virbac acquired the Thimerosal business from Norbrook, and I think it's a fantastic deal. It makes a ton of sense, and he really, I think he hit the ground running in animal health.
Yeah, that's a lot of leadership changes in an industry that typically doesn't see a lot of changes. Although we're, I think the growth, it speaks to the growth of the industry as well. That there are companies that are coming up, and it's sometimes time for folks to have a either retirement or change, and that's what we're seeing.
It reminds me, Boehringer also had a new leader of its animal health business in the last couple of years as well. Shouldn't forget Boehringer. since
Yeah.
they are the biggest European animal health company.
Yeah. One of the things I think we'll be seeing in 2026 is startup innovation hitting the market. So we know Biomed is predicting here in 2026 with necrotic enteritis product. We've got Gallant with regenerative medicine. And we have, Loyal with longevity. Those are new categories. Microbiome, regenerative medicine, longevity. That's pretty groundbreaking. Some of these startups are really coming to fruition here.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, Joe. Yeah, but I'm waiting for a but.
No, I'm not debating what you said. Yeah, fascinating companies, and what you said there's Biomed is from food animal across to Loyal on companion animal. It's coming to market, but through which entity? Are they going to have to do it by themselves? What is their route to market? We don't know yet. Actually, several of these companies have said we're going to do it ourselves. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Are they going to be acquired? Are they going to have to do deals? I don't want to get this wrong, but I know Aratana had a commercial deal with Elanco before it was acquired by Elanco.
Yeah,
which is always, as soon as you do a commercial deal with a company, you can fast forward 18 months and that company is going to be acquired by their partner, maybe. But it's going to be interesting to see the next era of startups now that are coming to market. Who's going to take that to market, and what does that mean? Well, if Zoetis and Elanco hasn't partnered with this startup, does it mean they've got something that's not going to sell? Are they going to be able to sell it themselves? Are they going to be able to get it to the distributors? Who knows?
Yeah. I really found it extremely difficult in the last 2 years convincing larger strategic companies of like the potential that startups bring to the table. Like there was enormous skepticism and risk averseness, and I very often, and I mean they were very often my clients, so I really know firsthand what the reaction was to where the startup is, would the technology be accepted, would they get regulatory approval, and I mean many of them where I thought I would invest myself. I'm 100% convinced, and I think a lot of companies will, in hindsight, think, "Oh my God, we should have invested." I'm predicting 2 of those hitting the market in the near future. That will be absolutely groundbreaking. So I really hope for the startup community that companies take a little bit more risk and a bit more optimistic when they look at new technology, because I think usually startup innovation is better brought to market by an established animal health company than by the startup company itself with a rented sales force or whatever.
And maybe when Aratana and Kindred, and there are a few others as well, NextVet and Prevtech Microbia, they were bought, there weren't many options for startups. There are still certainly not many options now, but you do have Dechra is a bit bigger now, and Seva, Dechra bought Invetex, Seva bought Scout Bio. So suddenly the options for startups are a bit wider than a few years ago, but there's not that many options. The other thing I would say, Beatrice was talking about being risk averse. Biomed is actually Biomed and Loyal in different ways are kind of creating new concepts here and new markets around microbiome based products and pet longevity, which sometimes, I mean, I think I'm not a vet, but I find that pet longevity concept really hard to grasp sometimes. So it's not like you can say, oh, Loyal is this company that existed 10 years ago, or Biomed is just a new version of another one. They're kind of the first companies to do this sort of thing. So I really hope they succeed, because you know exactly if Loyal or Biomed are acquired, or they bring their products to market and they sell in their millions, there's going to be so many copycat companies that are going to want to do the same thing and grow the market. And that's going to be great for animal health because the money will come in. We need the successes there. And the companies we've spoken about, Axton as well, Gallant, there's several more, Vetagenics, and all the ones.
Elias,
Elias.
Yeah.
And the methane reduction companies as well. They're the most visible in animal health. I think you have to be visible in animal health to gain attention in such a small space. But we need them to be successful because behind 5 successful companies, there'll be 15 more.
That's
behind
that really broadens our industry.
Podcast on like shining light on certain startups and innovation. I mean, I can think of 3, 4, 5 right now that really deserve the spotlight and have amazing things that they're working on that really will change the lives of.
And maybe folks out there could give us some ideas on who they want to see, who they want to learn more about.
And where are the gaps, right? I mean, I hope that we also have some pet owners or large animal owners watch this. So if there are areas where you think there's a gap and you really need a solution to a problem, let us know.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're talking a lot about US startups here, but
that's right.
It's starting to grow around the world. In Romania, there's the cat health company, which is feline therapeutics. Uruguay, Zeptiva Therapeutics. A cool company there. I say cool because they really stand out because they're from Uruguay, and I just don't. Right. The bulk of animal health startups tend to be in companion animal, US and Europe, and in food animal, US, Europe, and Australia and New Zealand. And there's some cool stuff coming from, or business ideas coming from Korea as well, Japan, with Mabgenesis as well. So I do see the geographic boundaries growing. Or is it just that the companies in Latin America and Asia are now promoting themselves a bit more because they see examples of what they're doing in other markets? So like, oh, we're doing that sort of thing as well. So I'd love to do a podcast on maybe some of the names that aren't as well known in animal health innovation.
That's a great idea. That's a great
idea. I mean, if any of our listeners are particularly interested in learning more about the latest innovation and that's out there, maybe I can briefly give a shout out to a new conference series in Belgium. It's called From Discovery to Innovation in Animal Health, DIAH, organized by the University of Ghent. And it's going to be in May this year in Ghent, in Bruges, in Belgium. Beautiful, beautiful place. And it's very focused on academia, on startups, on early innovation. But usually all the strategic companies are there as well. It's really nice.
Oh, that's a very, very cool, different kind of conference. So we just got back from a conference, Beatrice.
Speaking
we missed you, Joe, at VMX.
Sorry.
I know. Well, it was the usual. It was the usual trotting back and forth between Hyatt and Hilton. we got our steps in. We got our steps in. But gosh, I don't know, Beatrice. It was, well, I think I said most people have 30,000 people there, and it is, it's meetings, it's a trade show. It was pretty cool, kind of what we saw there. Anything you want to point out, or any trends you saw, or kind of walking around the show floor?
Yeah, it was. It's huge as always, and it's not a conference, right? It's a trade show.
That's true.
If you want to meet people, you have to either you have your own meeting room, or you meet them at the barn, in the lobby, and in restaurants, etc. As you say, in the Hilton and the Hyatt, and a bit the Rosen Center as well. So we had I was really in and out. I landed on Sunday and departed on Tuesday. But I had a fantastic Monday, lots of very good meetings, but they were all one-on-one, right? It was not like a larger thing, or also no presentations or so that I attended. I walked over the trade floor on Tuesday, and as I said earlier, what really stuck out to me was the many startups in adjacent areas. that presented there. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, but as always, I mean, it was very interesting, and everybody was there. So
That's right.
no, it was very nice time.
And I think two things stood out to me. So you mentioned adjacencies, and one adjacency that I think I see growing, financing for pet owners. So whether it's kind of a credit card or some sort of a financing option for their veterinary care, I thought that really kind of stands out to me, because the affordability of care conversation, that's a big one. So seeing that, and then related to that was talking to veterinary leaders, talking to veterinarians. The language seems to be shifting from gold standard, we always provide the gold standard, to spectrum of care, which I think, two things kind of stand out there for me, which is affordability, but also maybe there's more innovation coming, so there can be a spectrum of care now. There's more options for veterinarians to choose from. And I thought that was a really interesting conversation that seemed to be happening. And several people, I talked to Ryan Leach at the Bird Bath. He does the podcast, The Bird Bath, which is a great podcast if you haven't tuned in. But he was noticing the same sort of thing in the same conversation, which I thought was very interesting. Maybe speaks to what's coming.
Affordability is a big issue at the moment. I think a lot of companies across adjacencies, from distributors to pharmaceuticals to anything, are realizing their customers are pet owners, but their customers are also vets, and they need to be providing maybe more than just what they've done in the past, which is their core expertise in therapeutics or logistics. You see the amount of things that Covetrus is launching in terms of trying to support the vet to be able to have a much deeper relationship with the pet owner, to actually guide the pet owner through all the processes and what their bill actually means, and reducing the stress for everyone in the veterinary clinic, not just being a provider of logistics or vaccines, etc. So I think companies are waking. There's so many studies coming out every week of the veterinary profession and stress and people leaving the profession and things like that. And I think it's a clear indicator of the animal health industry needing to do more on a personal level, but also do more on what they're offering in terms of tools that just make the vet's life easier, which should make the pet owners' understanding of care clearer.
That's right. Well, there was one really big thing that happened at VMX. It was really special. Watch this.
Please join me in congratulating the 2026 Feather Cap winner, Dr. Beatrice Vos.
I am truly honored and humbled to receive the Feather in a Cap award and to be included among such a remarkable slate of nominees. The women I was nominated alongside set a powerful standard for leadership in our industry. Thank you to the Feather in a Cap board for this recognition and for your confidence in my work.
Woo-hoo! Beatrice! Oh my gosh!
Thank you.
Congratulations!
Julie, you wrote a beautiful recommendation letter, so it was all thanks to you. So thank you.
Oh no! I know you got several recommendation letters. I wish it was all up to me. You would have won anyway. But no. I mean, congrats. That is.
Thank you.
Feather in her Cap is the award, right? And I don't know, that had to be an amazing, special moment for you.
Yeah, it really was. Definitely an evening that I will never forget. But the whole process up to the evening was really nice. I mean, reading these recommendation letters and just being nominated at all to start with was really humbling and made me very happy. But I mean, every single one of the nominees should have won,
Oh.
right? I mean, it was an amazing slate of nominees.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I
tons
think I
of
was
great
just very
people.
lucky.
Oh, well, congrats.
Thank you very
Congrats
much.
to you. Congrats to the other award winners. We saw High
Yes.
Flyer Award was Laura Gustafson over at Elanco. She's been building their e-commerce platform. We've talked about Celine Haliawa, who's over at Loyal, the CEO. She won the Entrepreneurial Spirit Award. So that was fantastic, as well as the new award, Champion of Women, which really honored Fabian Kausch, won the award. Well deserved for his long career of sponsoring and mentoring women and really lifting them up. So it was really great.
That's the cool thing about Feather in a Cap, is that the people involved, the winners come from different styles of companies, but even that the job titles, it's not like they're all in innovation or they're all management.
That's right.
They're completely different job titles, and so you can see, yeah, you could just hand out awards to the women that are in the most senior positions, but it's not that at all.
No,
And I've only been
awesome.
once. I went last year now, and it's a really interesting room to be in, and
It is.
it makes you think like, oh, how do they choose? Because they could just go through handing out the award to
It's
like
a
50
tough
people in the
process
room.
for those ladies on the feather board, and they did a great job. 355 people in the room this year. It is like the place to be for the animal health, segment of VMX. So congrats to all of them. Congrats,
thank
Beatrice.
you.
We're so
No,
proud of
it's
you.
great that they do that, and I do hope that it has like effects way beyond that one evening, right? That people do throughout the year. Support gender diversity of all sorts, right? Not just women.
Right.
I really hope that that's an attitude that will grow more and more in our industry.
Well,
So
maybe that.
as we
Can I
go
just-
ahead, Joe.
Back of that, then it's not a prediction, but a hope that with so much leadership change that has happened recently, that within the next year, within the next 2 years, that Kristen Peck is not the sole top leader in animal health that's female. I'm talking about the big companies. That it's the diversity of the type of people winning the Feather in Her Cap award is great, but where's the breakthrough? Where's the multiple CEOs at the top level? Yeah, there's some companies, mid-sized companies around in regional areas, but the appointments we mentioned just now or earlier in the podcast, they're all men. So let's see where.
Let's see it. There's a great pool of talent to choose from. So
but we have amazing. I mean, of course. I mean, the most powerful person in animal health is a woman, arguably.
Number one.
Jenny Winter from Animal Care is wonderful. Anne Moulin from Dome Pharma. So we do have a few women. And then if you look at the level below the CEO, Erin Brabanda is amazing. I mean, we have a lot of really powerful women.
Jackie
I agree with you. I would love to see
Gordon.
more of them to move up to the top level.
So I'm going to give you the last word, Beatrice, because we have to have a bad animal joke.
Oh my God. I promised a number of people that I wouldn't do that anymore, but I'm breaking that promise now, and I'll do it anyway because I have
Blame
an
it on
amazing
me.
one.
Blame it on me.
Okay, so why do cows have hooves and not feet?
Hooves and not feet.
Scientific question.
Because they lack toes. Sorry.
Okay, that's quite clever.
They lack toes.
They lack toes.
Lactose.
All right, I do apologize to all these people that I
great.
promised I wouldn't do that anymore, but
Blame it on me.
I think the Feather in Her Cap Awards have just said they're rescinding your award for that joke. I'm
It's
sorry.
going back. It's going back.
Send it back.
Oh my
send the cat
gosh, you
back.
too. Thank you so much for this special edition. As we wrap this up, we're going to have a lot of really great guests coming up on the podcast. And all three of us will be together at AHNTI London at the beginning of March. So we'll be out there with our microphones talking to folks and talk to each other. So it'll be fun. I can't wait to see you guys there.
Yeah.
Okay. See y'all.
Bye.